Here. Okay, we have a governor. We have our 18 members of Congress, who are 13 R's and senators. Okay? And if you're like me, you got moved from an odd-numbered state senate district last time to an even-numbered district. You get to vote in state senate elections 2 years in a row, but you're not supposed to. Also, there are other people who move the other way who will have to wait 6 years to vote in state senate race. All the 203 state reps. This is what I call our short ballot. We have no statewide row officers. We have no U.S. Senate race. So half of the people in the state will vote for governor, Congress, state Senate, and state house. The other half will only vote for governor, Congress, and state house. So again, a short ballot. Even in Philadelphia, it's going to be a short ballot. Here are the folks running for governor. And this past week, I had to take a bunch of the pictures off the Democratic side. So just for my own sanity, I hope no one else drops out, because it's a real pain having to redo those photos. All of the Democrats who have been tested in polling are running ahead of Governor Corbett as it stands now. Several of them, I think pretty much all of them, just because they're not Tom Corbett right now. Once we get past the primary and it's a mano-a-mano matchup, I think that will change. So you have Katie McGinty, who's been on TV with a light by for the past couple weeks. Allison Schwartz, the congresswoman from suburban Philadelphia and part of Philadelphia. Tom Wolf, who's been on your TV screen for about 6 weeks. Rob McCord, who according to sources is about to go on TV, if not tomorrow, then over the weekend or Monday. And then Jack Wagner, who former Auditor General. I will make a prediction that Corbett will not win 63 counties in November. This is what the map looks like last 64? Time. Yeah, well, maybe 62. Maybe 62. Got 54.5% of the vote. Okay? The race for governor this year is unprecedented because it's the first time in modern history where an incumbent governor is not pretty much assured of re-election from the beginning. Now, Dick Thornburg's race in '82 ended up being close, but it wasn't thought of that way. So one of the reasons you have so many Democrats running, even though a couple have dropped out, is because this nomination really means something, because there's an opportunity for the governor's mansion to change parties. And we've never had that in Pennsylvania since '68, since we allowed 2 terms. It's always been 2 terms Democrat, 2 terms Republican. So of course the Democrats want to be able to say, not only did they win, they were the first one to break the Pennsylvania cycle. So I think you're going to see, well, you've already seen this, at the end of the year, last year, a little bit over $30 million had been contributed, raised, given, rolled over from other campaign accounts. That was at the end of 2013 among the Democrats running for governor. Congress, can the Democrats gain here? Probably not. I think it's going to be a pretty status quo year on the congressional level. The 6th congressional district, Jim Gerlach kind of shocked everybody when he announced in January he was not running for re-election. That district had been a very tight district, but when they redistricted it in 2012, it got more Republican. So Gerlach squeaked by in 2012 with a 14-point win. The Republicans have settled on Ryan Costello, settled not in a bad way, they've anointed him. He is a Chester County Commissioner. A couple of years ago when Gerlach was running for governor for a brief time, he was running for Congress, the congressional seat for a brief time. The Democrats were nice enough this week, just after I wrote a story for the Pennsylvania Report about the Democratic primary, half a day before we published, one of the Democrats dropped out of the race, which I don't like because I had to rewrite my story. So they have settled again on their 2012 and 2010 nominee, a doctor who had served in the Marines in Iraq by the name of Manon Trivedi, who was one of the nicest guys you will ever meet. He just unfortunately couldn't win that congressional race. Both times he lost by about 14 points. He did raise about $1.4 million. That was running against an incumbent. So he'll raise probably at least that much or more this time. The 2 losers in this are the 2 Democrats running for Congress in the 8th district. Those 2 people on the left, because now the Democrats will not want to spend as much money, if any, in this district when they can spend it all in this district, which is an open seat. So open seats are the ones most likely to change hands. So if you're Shaughnessy Naughton or Kevin Strauss, it hasn't been a good 2014 so far. Mike Fitzpatrick, former congressman, former county commissioner, The Democrats had said this was their top race because it was pretty close, within 100 votes or so in the presidential race. In 2012, although Mike did again squeak by with a pretty good win there, 56.6%. This district changed the least in redistricting. I'm from Bucks County, that's the bulk of this district, and I tell people it's illegal in congressional redistricting to split Bucks County into more than one seat. So the seat changed the least. A lot of the other suburban Republican congressional seats down there got moved around a bit more to make them more friendly. Also, Fitzpatrick has term limited himself in his second go around in Congress. He is a cancer survivor. He wanted to go back to Congress to finish a few things, but he said that in 2016 he's done. So this may be more of a foreshadow for these people than actually trying to win this time. The 9th Congressional District is playing out as one of those kind of establishment Republican versus Tea Party type of things we've seen before. The 12th District here, the 9th District is the extreme part here that wraps around. It's kind of ground zero for the war on coal that you've heard about that the Democrats are waging. He has 2 Republican primary challengers. The first one, Travis Schooley, tried to run last time but got knocked off the ballot. Art Halverson is a retired career Coast Guard officer who is now a real estate investor. He's loaned himself some money, been on radio, one of those outside congressional groups that Bo mentioned, the Madison Project, had run some radio ads for him. Schuster is chairman, like his father, of the House Transportation Committee, so he has all the campaign money he's going to need. He's in the middle of a large TV buy right now. There is still some lingering resentment against him over how his father handed the seat over to him 10 years ago. So there's probably 30% of the people in that district in a Republican primary that would vote for Judy Eschberger for Congress in a Republican primary if she were the alternative. So it kind of reminds me of my old boss, Arlen Specter. There's always a base level of about a third of the Republicans that were just never going to vote for it. The question is, will they get up to the next level? So the registration there, you see, it's only a little bit Republican, but Obama got 36% of the vote there. So you've heard about the turmoil in eastern Pennsylvania, southeastern, where registered Republicans are voting Democratic and those seats are turning. This is kind of the opposite, okay? This is the heart of southwestern Pennsylvania where people are voting on every level now more so for the Republican candidates than the Democrats. The 13th, I just love this lineup, okay? We've got the funniest legislator in the state, Dalen Leach, on the left, Mark, who is Jewish but has a mail order certificate that says he's a priest. He married a lesbian couple last year, married a lesbian couple. Marjorie Margolis, who was Mezvinsky back then, but not anymore. She was a one-term congresswoman. She famously beat a rather weak Republican in '92, saying she would not vote for taxes. She got in and voted for Bill Clinton's budget, which contained a tax increase. It was the vote that allowed him to get his budget passed. She was unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your point of view, toast in the next election, and she lost. Since then, she's divorced her husband. He's gone to jail for theft and bribery, and she has lost the primary for lieutenant governor. So she's running again. She does not currently live in the district, though she hasn't moved. The district's moved around her. Dalen Leach on the left also does not live in the district. The next fella, Brendan Boyle, is a state rep from Northeast Philly, Harvard educated, blue-collar sort of guy. Bob Brady, the Democratic leader, the congressman from Philadelphia, has endorsed him. Most of the union support's going to him. Dr. Valerie Arkush is a physician at Penn, I believe, and her husband was Alison Schwartz's congressional campaign treasurer. So they know all the money people. She's done a very good job of raising money. Poor Marjorie has enriched her consultants, which, you know, at a certain level has some appeal. But she has very little money to actually run her campaign. As of last week, she had less than $75,000 to spend in the primary. So it's kind of fortuitous that she announced that Bill Clinton, who she's related to by marriage now, one of her kids married, Chelsea Clinton, is coming into campaign and do a fundraiser for her. So this seat, the way it's been redistributed, it's going to be a Democratic seat. It's going to stay that way. You can make a plausible case for any of the 4 Democrats to win. To me, the easiest case to make for them is for Brendan Boyle. He is the least liberal of the four and the only one from the city. I like to say that in contested primaries, it's good to be the one of something. So he is the only guy in the city. The city has a little bit less than half the overall vote, but a little bit more than half of the Democratic primary vote. And that'll be how this district is figured out. Congressional Roundup. Charlie Dent from the Lehigh Valley and Hershey. Congressman Murphy from suburban Pittsburgh and Mike Doyle from Pittsburgh. They are, the first two have no opponents. Doyle only has a low-level opponent in the primary. So these guys are going to be in Congress again. Then we go to the legislature. We finally have our new districts. This is the Dave Patty patented age plus service. They put a head up on who we think might be retiring soon. So we go across here. Stu Greenleaf in the 12th district was first elected in 1978. 36 years of Senate service, 2 of House. He's 75 years old. That gives him an age plus service score of 113. As much as we at the PBC would like him to be retiring, he is not. Bob Robbins, who is number 2 on the list, and Rich Kasunik, number 3, is, okay? So, open state Senate seats. This district, the one that has the map there, is the district, the 26th, which is mostly Delaware County, a little bit of Chester. This is the Ted Erickson seat, for those of you that keep track of that sort of stuff. The seat just to the east is the seat of the Senate Republican leader, Dominic Pileggi, who has a special interest in this race. The Democratic candidate is the head of the plumbers union down in that part of the world. Tom McGarrigle is a county councilor. Delaware County is one of our home rule counties. They don't have commissioners. They have 5 council members. So this race is going to be very expensive because it's Philadelphia TV. And if you look at the bottom, you see it's 49% Republican, 35% Democrat. But unlike the South, this is the other side of the coin to the southwestern PA districts. This one does not vote as Republican, unfortunately, as its registration. So this, to me, will be the most contested district, state senate in the state, and the most expensive. We have a new seat. The 40th district got moved from Allegheny County to Monroe and Northampton. Monroe County had been split up into a million different pieces on the state senate and state house side. The first redistricting plan, all of Monroe County, a little bit of Northampton was in the district. That plan got blown up, so now there's less of Monroe County in this district. The Republican is Mario Scavello, a state house member from that part of the world. Monroe County is a strange place. A lot of people there live, a wonderful place, but strange politically because a lot of people there live there but work in other places. A lot of people there read the Bergen Record, which is the paper from North Jersey. They live in gated communities. It's just harder to get known there. There's some local radio. Some people watch TV from Philly, some from Scranton. So the fact that Scavello is a more of a known quantity helps him because he's been in the House for a while now. The Democrats have Scott Parsons, who I assume looks better than that photo, but that's the only one I can find. About 3/4 of Scavello's House seat is in the Senate seat, so that gives them a little bit of a leg up. This to me will be the number 2 contested seat because it's virgin, there's nobody there. Some open Democratic state Senate seats. Last cycle, all the open seats were Republican. Now we have some Democratic ones as well. So this is a Republican pickup that happened last week. Not really many people noticed it though. But Furlow and Vlahovic got put into the same district. The district went from being 50% in the city to just 8.5% in the city, went from 70% Democrat to 50. So basically the district went from being a big part of Pittsburgh up the Ohio River Valley into some suburban territory. Now it's just, I think, 4 wards or 3 wards in the city and all these North Hills towns, which are more Republican. So Furlow decided not to run for re-election. Vlahovic has no opponent, Republican or Democrat. So when the filing deadline ended last Tuesday, the Republicans picked up this seat, which is a pretty easy way to pick up a seat, quite frankly. This to me will be the number 3 state Senate seat in the state. This is the district that Kasunik has retired from. Even if he hadn't retired, I think it would have been a competitive seat. The Republican candidates out of Central Casting, his name is Pat Stefano. He runs his family's third-generation printing business. His daughter is the reigning Miss Bituminous Coal Queen of Pennsylvania, which
very important.
Here's a great story for you. There are only 2 pageant winners that have a guaranteed slot to address the legislature: Miss Pennsylvania and Miss Bituminous Coal Queen. So,
what about Miss Betty?
I'm just saying, just those 2. If you have other issues, lobby your legislators for more.
Chris, who will be doing the pledge of the flag at the PAC dinner?
His daughter will be doing the Pledge of Allegiance, so it's yet another reason to come to the PAC dinner on April 29th, especially the beginning.
We'll do anything to build name ideas.
Exactly. It's not Miss Coal Queen, it's Miss Bituminous Coal Queen, because of course Northeast Pennsylvania has a different type of coal. This district is all of Fayette, all of Somerset, and then 2 little horns, as I call them, that go into Westmoreland. There's about 6 towns. So this district, Fayette County went 53% for Romney. Somerset County went 71%. The Westmoreland towns are kind of even Steven. So this district, I think, is tailor-made for a Republican to pick up. All of the, that old expression, the trend is your friend. The trend here is towards the Republicans and away from the Democrats. The Democrats, as of now, have a 3-way primary for this. The most well-known candidate they have is Deb Kula, who is the state representative from the 52nd, I want to say it's the 52nd district. And there are 2 other Democrats that have been put up by her rival, the other state rep from Fayette County. So that primary will kind of play itself out. You see the registration. So this district is 50-70, 35R, but it voted 53% for Romney in Fayette and 71% in Somerset. So this to me will kind of be the counterbalance to the Erickson seat, which is registered Republican, but in an area that's trending away from them. This one registered Democrat, but trending away from them. So this to me, if you look at the state Senate folks, there's normally top 3 seats. So to me, it's the Erickson seat, the open one, and the 40th, and then this one. Some other races to watch: the other Republicans in the Southeast, Tomlinson, McElhenney, and Greenleaf. Greenleaf got an opponent who's a county treasurer, not treasurer, recorder of deeds, something like that. The other 2 got kind of weaker opponents. Pat Brown, he's a lucky guy. Okay, his district got really changed this year. It lost its more Republican Monroe County part. It's all in Lehigh County. It's the most Democrat registered district represented by a Republican. And they got maybe a D- candidate there, a retired African-American Allentown city cop as his opponent. On the other side, Democrat Tina Tartaglione from Philadelphia, they're going to play out their never-ending battle of turf battle. She has a couple primary opponents. Leanna Washington, I had written there that she was under investigation. Last week I could change it to now she's been indicted you would think these folks would know better than to have their official staff do their fundraising, but still we have problems. So she will deal with that. She has 2 primary opponents in her district. Her district has the distinction of having the most registered voters of any state Senate district in the state. They have to be fairly balanced by population, but there's a 50,000 voter difference between the state Senate district with the most registered voters and with the least. Population the same, but registered voters totally different. So it's more expensive to run a race there because you're still doing primarily direct mail. You just have more people to talk to. Tim Soloway kind of got lucky because the district next to him, Pacific, will be a big battle. So folks will have fewer resources and less time to perhaps go after him. His Republican opponent, her name is Camera Bartolotta. She has a very interesting, I think, unique background. Part of her background is she runs a quick lube place that her family started. The other side, she's a B-movie actress. So you don't find a lot of quick lube owners / movie actresses out there. That would be interesting to watch. She likes to make horror movies too. So 9 senators are unopposed this year. So congrats to Utachak, Boscola, Baker, Mensch, Eichelberger, Corman, Balakovich, Fulmer, and Fontana. They've already been elected. So if you get fundraising pitches from these folks, just be cognizant of the fact that they don't really have a reason to spend it this year. This is the House Age Plus service. You see the top person, Nick McCosey, announced his retirement. He was at 120 Age Plus service. Paul Clymer, who's been in politics since the beginning of time, also retired. That'll be an interesting seat. That used to be most of Upper Bucks. Now it's only about 40% of Upper Bucks. That district has gone from kind of rural utopia to more suburban like Central Bucks. So that'll be a little bit tougher than people might think to hold that seat. Okay, we can have some new state house seats because they were moved. If you've ever looked across the map, you would know that the state house seats start in Erie at 1 and end up in Philadelphia at 203. The state senate seats start at 1 in Philadelphia and work their way up to 49 and 50 up here. So that's why you look around and the county has all seats in the 130s and there's 118 or 195. They're being moved. So 5, 22, 74, 115, and 169 were all moved into redistricting. The 5th district was Republican. It got moved to Berks County. It's pretty much going to stay Republican. 22nd district was Democrat in Pittsburgh. Now it's moved to Allentown. It's a majority minority district. It's a majority Hispanic district. The Democrat who's going to win, his last name is Pennsylvania Dutch. So if the object was to get more Hispanics in the state house, they didn't win this time. 74th district was from Cambria County. Now it's in suburban Chester along Route 30. That'll be a somewhat competitive seat, but should probably stay Democratic. If we had had this meeting a couple weeks ago, I would have told you that if you wanted to run for the state house, you should move to the 115th district because it was created from whole cloth and no incumbent lived there. Okay, but now we're past the deadline, so you can't do that, sorry. But it just got, a lot of seats up there got moved, and lo and behold, there was the 115th, nobody lived there. The 169th was the old Denny O'Brien seat in Northeast Philly, which switched parties in 2011 in a special election. And it got moved to southwestern York County, Hanover. So that seat will be Republican until the end of time. So that's kind of a flip. So those are some of the seats that are new on the House level. So if you're getting fundraising invitations from that part of the world, they're all new candidates. Okay. 80 state reps are unopposed, more R's than D's. So if you add that to the unopposed in the House, you've got in the Senate about 40% of the seats this year are unopposed. 13 of the 27 House members that represent Philadelphia have contested primaries. Okay. Of the 4 Philadelphia Democratic state reps mentioned in the bribery case dropped by the Attorney General, just one, Vanessa Brown, has a primary opponent. None of them have a Republican opponent. They're all Democratic districts, so it's not like a big shocker they don't have a Republican opponent. Some of those seats are so Democratic you'd be hard pressed to get the 300 Republican signatures you need to get on the ballot. 25 Democratic House members are looking at contested primaries along with 10 Republicans. The big upset in 2012 when Tom Quigley lost to Mark Painter, that'll be a rematch in the 422 corridor in Montgomery County as they're both back on the ballot. And Painter won because he got increased turnout on the presidential level, which will not be the case this time. So it may be one of the few seats where right now going into it, the incumbent is probably not favored. Just looking at the demographics, you have to see how the race goes on, obviously. Okay, here's some more retirements in the House. The most important thing for you is at the bottom. The chairman of the Commerce, Tourism, Education, Transportation, Labor and Industry, Environmental Resources, and Energy Committees, they're all retiring or going. So if you lobby those committees, you're going to have a new chairperson to lobby next year. On the other side, you've got Republicans running for other offices. Interestingly enough, the top 2 guys are state reps in Lancaster County. There's the open seat there that Brubaker's retiring from. I would have bet my bottom dollar a couple months ago that there would not be a contested primary here because the Lancaster GOP is pretty strong. They have a screening process. They appoint they endorse somebody, they get anointed, and other people usually go away. Interestingly enough, Ryan Alment led in that screening process from beginning to end. The other state rep there, Denlinger, kind of got skunked in the county endorsement meeting, and you would have thought he would have gone away because it was not even close, but as of now, he's still on the ballot, so that will be a contested primary. We already talked about Scavello. Brooks and Lucas are both running in Bob Robinson's seat in the 50th. Brooks has the upper hand there because her House district is so much more of that Senate district. Lucas only has a small part of his House seat that overlaps in the Senate seat. Poor Ron Miller lost the primary 2 days ago now in the 28th district in York County. I question, quite frankly, whether he will stay in the primary now that the Republicans will obviously have to support their incumbent, who, when the race gets certified, would be Scott Wagner. Here are some fun races to look at. The redistricting in a couple places, 5 places, pushed incumbent Democrats into the same district. A couple of them got taken care of by hook or crook. So these are the 2 we have left. Reshaw and Mulchaney in the 36th district. You cannot find a better example of old school, new school than this. Reshaw is a funeral director, armed services guy, pro-life, not into gay marriage. Mulchaney is essentially a Democratic campaign operative who won a special election in 2011. She's pretty much as liberal as they come. They got mashed into a district that's South Hills and a few towns in Allegheny County. The Progressive Summit folks endorsed Mulchaney. The local Democratic committee endorsed Reshaw. One of the ways you look at contested primaries this way, with 2 incumbents getting squished together, is who represents more of the territory. So that edge would go to Reshaw, because the new 36th district is about 2/3 his old district and a little bit less than 1/3 hers. There was some territory that was brand new to everybody. So just looking at the demographics, you'd have to give the edge to Reshaw. But it's definitely an old school, new school type of thing. 112 is another Northeast Pennsylvania kind of, I don't know, bar brawl up there. Haggerty and Freeney got pushed into the same district. The districts there are fairly evenly represented, the old ones, so on paper demographically that's more of an even Steven thing. This is about 25% in Scranton, then it kind of moves up those towns northeast of Scranton, Dunmore, and Jessup. It's a very Democratic area, so whoever wins there will be there. Haluska and Burns would have gone after each other in Cambria, but Haluska retired. Nielsen would have gone after Sabatina, but they have an open city council seat there, and they slotted Nielsen for that special election, so that one was avoided. These are the folks facing primary challenge. I think you have a printout of this, so it's probably easier to read on your printout, but I'm not surprised by this. As more of these districts get made into districts that only will change hands in the primary, more of the action is in the primary, Republican or Democratic. Plus you have new districts this year, so they're just kind of put together now, and people are trying to figure them out. So Will Tallman from Cumberland County, now represents part of Cumberland County from Adams County. He has a district that is almost 50% new. So it's just kaboom. His district is very different. Another one up here is Karen Bobeck from the Northeast. Her district is also about 40% brand new. So it's just a lot of new people for them to get to know. Okay, Prosperity Project we talked about as a resource for you. I keep this picture up because I love Pileggi and the stash, but this is kind of an example of what our P2 site looks like. After you've put in your address and found out who your people are, you click and you're going to get a picture of the incumbent, their contact information, and then all here kind of the votes, and again, check mark, we like that vote, X, we didn't. So with that, I will open it up. And oh yeah, remember, April 29th is our check in. So.